So another weekend, and two more Democrats have entered the race. Amy Klobuchar and Elizabeth Warren hoping to go head-to-head against the president for the White House in 2020. They're going to have to go through an already pretty crowded field and getting bigger by the minute, but it hasn't stopped them from coming out swinging. Watch.
Our nation must be governed not from chaos, but from opportunity, not by wallowing over what's wrong, but by marching inexorably toward what's right.
You know, here's what bothers me. By the time we get to 2020, Donald Trump may not even be president. In fact, he may not even be a free person.
Here now exclusively former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, author of the new book, Let Me Finish, Trump, the Kushners, Bannon, New Jersey, and the Power of In-Your-Face Politics, which is now number 5 on the New York Times bestseller list. Governor, great to have you here. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Martha.
So I want to talk to you about 2020, because
Sure.
you know what it's like. Put up the pictures of the early round of the Republican candidates. There were 17 up there. Yeah. We were moderating debates out in Iowa. You know, how tough is it for anybody in that kind of crowded field to stand out? You tried it.
It's incredibly hard. And even when you get rated, as we did, really well in the debates, in the top 2 or 3 people in every debate, when there was 10 or 11 people on the stage, it didn't matter. It was very hard to get any kind of coverage. And then especially with Donald Trump in the race, that made it even harder than just the numbers because of his notoriety from all the years on television with The Apprentice.
You say you always knew he was going to win, and that's why you backed him right away. As soon as you dropped out, you backed him the next day, which was shocking to a lot of people.
It was, and I took a lot of abuse for it. But what I said to folks was, he's going to win the nomination. And so we have an obligation to make sure Hillary Clinton doesn't become president of the United States. And I wasn't going to sit on the sidelines. You know, too many people sat on the sidelines during the primary and didn't support people. Well, Donald Trump was going to be the nominee. That's who the people were supporting. So I had to get behind him and try to make him a better candidate and hopefully a better president.
I want to get back to 2020, but you've like gone to the dance a few times on a number of different jobs. But why are you still so loyal to him? Attorney General, the transition, and then just recently, you spoke out about this recently in the New York Times. You really thought you were going to get that chief of staff job. You put your whole book tour on hold. Well,
I withdrew myself from that, Martha, because I decided I didn't want to do it. So to be fair to the president, that wasn't something that I wanted to be offered. And when I spoke to him about it and got the feeling that it might be a direction he was moving in, I called him the next day and said, listen, it's just not the right time for me personally. The reason why I'm loyal to him is we have one president at a time. This isn't about me. This is about the country. And do we want him to achieve great things for our country? Do we want to make sure that we don't get a socialist president in 2020? Yeah. And so what's much more important is always working for the country. And by the way, the president's always been very good to me personally. As I write in the book, some of the folks around him, not so much.
How are the folks around him now? Mick Mulvaney?
Better, much better.
Really?
Yeah.
So you feel good about who's advising him right now?
Yeah, listen, I think Mick is doing a really good job. I think he's an experienced guy. I think Kellyanne Conway has always been very good, and she knows how to speak to the president and speak for the president. And I think he's got a better cabinet. I think Mike Pompeo is an improvement at state. Alex Azar is a big improvement at human services and health and human services. So he's got a better team now than he did when he started.
So he's going to be running against one of these people. This is Elizabeth Warren talking about the wealthy. Watch this.
We need to take power in Washington away from the wealthy and well-connected and put it back in the hands of the people where it belongs.
And you hear the crowd. That's going to resonate with a lot of people.
It will with some, but I'll tell you something. What won't resonate is when they start putting price tags on all the things they're promising. And the American people hear about Medicare for all and realize that it's going to bankrupt them and bankrupt our country and take away their private health insurance. 185 million Americans have private health insurance. They don't want to give that up. And that's what Elizabeth Warren is for. They want this green agenda that is going to really cost the country trillions of dollars. I mean, when we start putting price tags on this and they realize the freedom they're giving up, that the president was right the other night in the State of the Union. They're moving us towards a socialist agenda. It's unacceptable. And we need the president to stand up to this. And I bet you a lot of middle America is going to hear this for a little while. And once they get a belly full of it, they're not going to like it.
Here's Kamala Harris. Watch this.
Well, let me just make the statement very clear. I believe we need to legalize marijuana.
Have you ever smoked?
I have.
Okay.
Like I inhale. I did inhale.
Okay.
It was a long time ago. Listen, I think that it gives a lot of people joy, and we need more joy.
More joy in this winter.
Everybody's pro-pot now, right?
Yeah, I mean,
I
listen.
mean, look across the country. It's going to be legal in every state in America probably before it's through.
It's ridiculous.
You worked hard to get drugs off the street.
We did as a U.S. attorney, and I worked hard to keep them off the streets as governor. And I was chairman of the President's Opioid Commission, and the studies show that marijuana, especially for our young people, is a gateway drug into other drugs. It's wrong to do it. Kamala Harris can laugh all she wants, but she should go to some of these funerals that are happening around the country. I wonder if she's ever done that. Gone to a funeral and looked in the eyes of parents who had a child who died of an opioid overdose, and have those parents tell them the stories about how it started for that child with marijuana. I've gone and done that, and maybe Senator Harris should do that.
I've
And she wouldn't be chuckling about joy.
Sons and nephews.
Yep.
They say exactly the same thing. National emergency, is that something that the president should try?
Well, listen, if they're not going to come up with a reasonable compromise, they're going to leave him no choice. Now, I don't think it's great policy to do that, but if they're going to say, no way, we're not going to fund the wall in any way for the president, then they leave the president with no choice, and then the responsibility falls on the Democrats. The president has shown a willingness to compromise here. He's been in the spirit of compromise. The Republicans have been negotiating. If they don't want to compromise with the president, then the president's going to have no choice but to do it. I hope they come to a deal because I think that'll be better for the country. But if they don't, the president's going to do what he needs to do.
Joe Biden, back to 2020 real quick before I let you go. Let's take a look. 62% say that of Democrats say they think he should get in. 28% say he should stay out. 10 have no opinion. What changes the moment he's in? Does that dynamic change dramatically?
Well, of course, because then people start shooting at him, and he's the front runner. And there was a time when I was the front runner in the race, and believe me, you never see more incoming than when you're the front runner. But I will tell you this. One thing I will say about Biden is that because he has the ability coming from Scranton, Pennsylvania, to appeal in Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, he could peel off some of those white working class voters. I know the president is keeping an eye on Joe Biden. Now, can Joe stay on the rails? Can he keep his mouth, appropriate?
Yeah, well, the president called him dumb the other day.
I understand. And Joe has said some things over time that would make people wonder whether or not he's really thinking. So we got to see how he performs. But right now, if I were Donald Trump, I'd keep the closest eye on Joe Biden.
Should he be concerned about Howard Schultz?
No. In fact, I want to get a Howard Schultz T-shirt that says, "Run, Howard, run." Get in the race, be an independent. He will guarantee a Trump victory in 2020 if he gets into the race as an independent. It is a fool's errand, but we welcome him to do it.
Governor, good to see you. Governor Christie, thanks for being here.
Thanks, Martha.
Congratulations on the book. It's called Let Me Finish. When did you ever not again get a chance to finish? You always finish.
Not always, Martha. We still got more to say.
What's the next chapter?
We're going to see. We're going to see. Listen, I love public service, and we're doing some stuff now to make sure our last two kids are able to go to college and not worry about that. But then after that, I got a feeling I'll be back in public life.
All right. Good to see you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Martha.